and young adults to be amplified regarding race and social justice issues. It is designed to serve as a platform to be seen, heard, and valued in a supportive, safe space. Our program will begin by taking a look at how did we get here and where are we going? So I want you to think about that, as well as what we do after this conversation. So Navi will lead the group through discussion. And after the segments, we'll open it up to take audience questions or reactions to comments. I may jump in from time to time to ask a question or give a comment, but Navi will be leading this discussion. And so when we do open up for questions or comments, we would like for you to listen and be respectful of others, as well as keep your comments brief. So does that work for everybody? Great. Thank you once again for being here. So Zuri, he is leading our technology team behind the scenes. He has double duty. If you could unmute yourself, Zuri.
Yes, ma'am.
We want everybody to hear your deep voice. So they'll know who that is who's speaking, right? And so what we want to do, once again, is open up the lines so that we can find out where people are listening in from. So would you please unmute yourself and say where you're calling from, please, or watching from? Let's start with Holly. I see you unmuted yourself.
And I'm trying to do something else in the meantime, so I'm gonna stop my video for a second so I can have my lunch.
Okay.
But I'm listening. I'm Holly Freeman. I'm calling from Richmond, Virginia, and Danielle's my daughter.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you, Tika, for putting this together, and the rest of the panelists as well. I'm looking forward to a great conversation.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Hi. Robin Mines, Richmond, Virginia. Just glad to be here.
Karina Escobar from Huntsville, Alabama, with my mother-in-law. We'll be watching together, so excited to be here.
There seems to be a male person in the picture who we can't see. Would you please say who you are and where you're calling from?
Is that me?
Yes.
All right, Lafayette Jefferson. I'm Danielle's father, calling from Petersburg, Virginia.
Thank you, Lafayette. Is there anyone else who would like to say something who may have been missed?
Hi, this is also some of Danielle's family from Richmond, Virginia.
Awesome. Danielle brought her posse. Which is always good. We all need our tribe, no matter what it is that we're doing. And so we appreciate your support. Okay, so I will go now. So from Ferguson to Orlando to Charleston. Does anyone remember those cities and why I'm saying those names? Of course you do. From those cities, I'm sorry, just 1 second. I'm trying to get back to being able to see you all. From Ferguson to Orlando to Charleston, today's panelists have lived their formative years through tough times. As toddlers, the horrors of 9/11 and terrorist attacks. As tweens, They came of age through the lens of the senseless murder of Trayvon Martin, the tragedy at Sandy Hook, as well as the mass shooting at the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado. These incidents and horrible events has informed the work that they do and the passion that they have for social justice and racial equality. So today we have Navi Johnson, also known as V, the writer, who will moderate this talk for us. And she is a performing artist, an author. She wrote her first book as a teenager way back in the 2000s. She is also an entrepreneur from Richmond, Virginia. And she's a woman of many hustles. She's the founder of the newly established RVA Black Farmers Market, which will open in just a few weeks in August. Her powerful poetry and music reflects the plight of African Americans in America and advocates forward movement and self-sufficiency. So please take a moment to hear one of her shorter pieces from a few years ago.
All over the nation, tens of thousands of people are protesting for justice. African Americans in America have been brutalized and killed just for being in America, or standing on the street selling single untaxed cigarettes, or holding a toy gun, or walking home in his gated community. And America is tired of killing the people who brought it to life. With no indictment of both officers, the American people were angry. Justice for Garner, justice for Brown, justice for all.
So that's the backdrop. That's how we got here. So Navi will now take over and introduce you to our panelists for this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Latika. My name is Navy. I wanted to let y'all know, but you can also call me the writer. As she said, I'm an entertainer, poet, entrepreneur, woman of many things. And I'm just happy to be able to facilitate this wonderful conversation on race and social justice throughout our city. So I'm not going to make it all about me. I want to talk about the awesome panelists that we have up here. I want to start by introducing Ms. Danielle Freeman Jefferson. She is a junior landscape architecture student at the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University, who has a passion for community building, urban architecture, plants, and art. She is currently designing and selling embroidery patches, learning to crochet hand-knit items, as well as creating acrylic collages on canvases. When she's not at her art studio, she helps her mother, Ms. Holly Freeman, cultivate a garden. Welcome, Ms. Danielle.
Hi, everybody. Excited for the conversation that we're going to have, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, awesome. All right, next we have Mr. Christopher Lee, also known as Christoph. He is a 2018 graduate of Monacan High School, who was a member of the Richmond Boys Choir, performed in Art 180 art installations, and was a part of the Six-Pick City Builders program for urban youth leaders. He is out here adulting and is an essential worker on the front lines of this pandemic. His interests include writing, photography, creative expression through spoken word as well. Christoph is the host of a weekly podcast called Conversations with Christoph. Please welcome Mr. Christopher Lee.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
I hear you.
Okay. So yeah, I just got done with a conversation with Christoph. I was interviewing one of my friends that's also a rapper. So, and I've also have been on the front lines ever since the pandemic has started. So, it's really been a weird time, and I just hope that we can still get through it and make sure to wash your hands, social distance, and wear your mask.
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. All right, guys. Next, we have Mr. Zuri Washington. He is the founder of the African American Culture Club at Thomasdale High School and is co-founder of the Culture Evolved. That is an annual festival that celebrates and promotes African American art. Zuri is the host of a weekly dialogue exchange for Black teens called Community Conversations with Zuri, and will be a freshman at Virginia Commonwealth University studying theater in the fall. Welcome, Mrs. Zuri.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Really looking forward to this conversation. Peace.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Washington. And lastly, we have Mrs. Brianna Starks. She is a 2020 graduate of North Carolina A&T State University with a degree in political science. She currently works as a political organizer, focusing on strategies to turn swing states blue. After spending nearly 4 years focusing on voter education, Brianna knows what truly sparks major change in our communities. She has worked closely with organizations that focus on racial and economic justice to bridge the gap between where we are and where we need to be. Brianna has landed coverage in several print and broadcast networks across the U.S., including WFMY, CNN, and NBC, focusing on voter suppression, gerrymandering, and minority voter education and participation. Please welcome Ms. Brianna Starks.
I want to thank everyone so much for having me. I'm looking forward to also engaging into a wonderful conversation about race today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. We look forward to having this conversation. So we're just going to start with a question about how we feel. Give me 1 second here. All righty. So my first question for everyone is, and anyone can answer at any time, how are each of you adjusting in this repeated new reality of unfolding in the forefront of our lives right now? How are we adjusting to our new normal?
I guess I'll go first because really, if it at first it was kind of hard to adjust to not really going to work because of the whole virus thing. And where I was working at when it really hit, I was working at a hotel, and the hotel they really rely on a lot of business with people that are reserving rooms. And then once the virus hit, like all the people that reserved rooms that were already there, they started to leave. So their business just went downhill, and then they had to let everybody go. And they didn't really have a job for a while. And when I finally did get a job, it felt like a sense of normalcy because it felt normal to like go to a job and then come back home and just work on other stuff. So it's really felt like it's still normal, but then it's not at the same time since there's nothing else to do since a lot of things are shut down. So it's normal for me, but then it's not normal at the same time.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, for me, one of the most difficult things to adjust to was the complete uprooting of my college experience. Because you grow up 20 years, everybody is like, oh, this happens, this happens, this happens, you look forward to this. And then I have 2 years of looking forward to like everything that people have said and everything that I'm expecting, and I have 2 years of experience with it. And I make plans, and I made like commitments to myself. Like I had a whole plan for the rest of the school year, what I was going to accomplish, what I was going to work on. And that completely, I just had to be trashed because, the pandemic, I had to go home. We didn't have, our computers at school to work on anymore. We didn't have the same programs anymore. We didn't have the same, like communication resources and stuff like that with our teachers. And so that probably was the hardest part. And then the still not knowing really what's going to happen when we go back to school, because everybody's saying that they know, but nobody really knows what's going on at all. I don't think anybody, even like the higher ups of any college, know what's going on. Don't think they know how to handle it. And to be fair, neither do we. So it's the not knowing that's really weird to adjust to. But in that not knowing, you kind of have to force yourself to relinquish control. And that's something that I personally take as a life lesson, because you're in control so often that you think you actually are in control. But this is bigger than all of us. And the only way to really make peace with that is to say, what happens, happens. It is what it is. And we're just going to roll with what we got, and really trust in yourself and trust in your ancestors, trust in the universe to, you know, pull you through this and just kind of take you where you need to be.
Wonderful. That was a great answer, Danielle. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I'll add. Transitioning into this time has been really tough, specifically, you know, for college students, Aggie Pride. We missed out on a lot, necessarily school-wise, but opportunity-wise. Like a lot of students were getting into their internships or starting their careers, or just fostering like new programs within their university. So it was very hard to be ripped away from an environment where you were being nurtured mentally and educationally. So we lost a lot of our opportunities to excel in this time. It's been really difficult. Specifically for me, what I do political organizing. This is not the year to slow down when it comes to organizing, because of the election coming up in November. So we've spent a lot of time and like blood, sweat, and tears trying to figure out how can we organize marginalized groups of people to make sure everyone's voices get heard in this election, because we really need to turn what happens. I'm not going to necessarily say who we need to vote for, but we need to change what happens in the White House. So it's been a hard time fostering that commitment for everyone, especially when there's so many uncertain times. A lot of people don't know where their next meal is coming from. They don't know when they're going to work again. They don't know when their kids are going to go back to school. Some people don't have the means to homeschool their kids, and don't have the money to hire a homeschooler, like homeschool teacher. So it's just a lot going on as a country. We've watched other countries go through this and grow from it and learn, and they're prospering right now. And I think we need to take a lot of that to learn what we need to do. And it's coming from a national level government, why all of that is not happening. So we really need to make sure that we can focus on helping everyone get to the polls in November. Like, even though this time is really tough, that's the main thing that's going to help us grow as a country right now. Thank y'all.
I understand it. That actually leads me to the next question. So many lives have been lost at the hands of racism and prejudice, from the past, from overseers to the KKK to now over-militarized police. And we as African Americans, we have to be proactive to protect our lives and our legacies. And we have to be aggressive about it. And in addition to protesting in voting and things of that nature, what other strategies can we implement in our communities to help us protect each other, help us continue to grow?
Okay, so to protect ourselves, I feel like we need firearm training. Okay, education, things like knowing your rights. Like a few weeks ago, I had a conversation with the Chesterfield County Police Chief, and we were talking about like what we could do to change the situation. And a lot of kids my age, people that's driving, we don't know our rights when we're being pulled over. So I feel like educating ourselves on stuff like that would help us.
I agree. I think that's a great idea. Some type of, there has been some African American firearm militias that have been slowly but surely creeping its way. So that that training just in our homes so that we can protect ourselves, especially with a lot of lynchings going on around now. I think that's definitely something that we do have to implement, protecting each other physically. But is there any other things we could do?
So I take a more, I take an alternate route to community building. In protecting ourselves, I feel like I hate guns. And I just feel like it's literally, in the most literal sense, fighting fire with fire. And when you have a gun in your hand, to me, it just says like you want to kill somebody, because that's what you do. Like you could have a machete, but that's beside the point. I think like protecting ourselves as a community means like more so looking out for each other, because the thing about communities these days is that they're rarely communities. It's usually just neighbors. And that's a completely different dynamic. So my form of community building, thus protecting yourself, is community gardening. I think that it brings people together. Well, not I think, because there are statistics, but community gardens quite literally make communities. They tie people together because of a whole bunch of reasons, but mainly because you have to be out there, you have to work, you have to participate, and you have to talk to people so that you know what's happening in the community garden, and you share with people. Recently, that we have a lot of mint in our yard, like an insane amount. It's invasive, but it's also very delicious. And so we trade with people and we give to people, and just through that process of watching my mother trade mint with people, I've met a lot of really rad people. And that's what creates community. That, the trading, the talking about it, the interactions with nature and with other people, that's how you build communities, and also community centers and things like that. And I feel like once you can say like, hey, something's going on with like this person down the street, let's just go check on them. Before we call the police, before we pull out a gun or anything, let's check on them and ask. And then, because we know community members, I know somebody that is a psychologist. We could call that person down here and they'll come and help. And so I think that moving away from aggression and moving towards love and peace, even though it's like super naive and it's like a wish, but it's something that really we can facilitate, especially in Richmond, where there's so much history and there's so many elders and stuff like that to take lessons from. So I don't know, that's how I see as protecting one another, by knowing one another and caring about one another and having resources, which is then the educational part, because people have to be educated in order to help one another. And education comes when you educate other people, which is, again, another concept and another part of community building.
Awesome. That's incredible. You are so right as far as just being in a garden, your community gardens, how that brings us all together. That's pretty much how I came up with the RV Black Farmers Market, just seeing the surplus of us getting back into the earth since the pandemic. So thank you for that answer. And please come out to the farmers market.
Yes, and can I just say, I love that there's a Black Farmers Market. I love that. I will definitely be there. And I'm so excited to see everybody there and to see Black farmers and, facilitate some community, talk to some people, get to know some people, make connections and things like that. I just love that idea, and I applaud you for that, for taking the initiative.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. Does anyone else have a different perspective?
I have a different perspective. Well, not a different perspective, since I agree with both Danielle and Suri. I think we should also invest into our community. So we got to switch our way of thinking from like buying from white-owned brands to buying our own people's brands. Like the shirt I'm wearing now is Black-owned, and it says protect Black culture, health, love, art, and lives. Because it's like if we invest into our own communities, we could be way powerful than what it is right now. Because the statistics of our spending power is over $1 trillion. if we used our money into community, we would be set for real, for real. We will be way set up there because like you see the Arabs or Asian people, they set up stores and other stuff in our community. But why can't we do that? But I understand why it's that way, because there's so many systems set up against us to invest into our communities. So I just feel like if we invest more into ourselves, we'll be up there way more. So that's another way I feel like we could be up there.
Agree.
So, if I may, one thing about that is that it's dangerously close to promoting Black capitalism, which is just capitalism. And I love, if I'm spending money, it's going to be at a Black-owned store or a Black-owned business. But really dispelling the myth that that is what's going to take us out of oppression is literally just playing into the hands of the white man.
Yeah.
And that being the systems of oppression that control us through capitalism. Because of course, capitalism is a system of oppression, but I really, I love Black businesses, and I definitely think we should spend all our money on Black businesses, but we also have to think of like how lower, like that leaves out lower income people.
Right.
Because they don't have real money to spend on Black businesses. And if they do, should we say spend it at a Black business or spend it here where it's cheaper or it's this or it's that? So I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot more dialogue that has to be had with that in order to make it an escape from oppression,
Yeah, sure. I understand.
I think to kind of piggyback off of that, I think as far as just the Black economy, I think it's just really all about how long our dollar stays in our community in general. So if we could continue to support each other that much to where it doesn't reach a point where it's like, okay, it's just us, it's a Black capitalist cap. If it just stays to a point where it's just flat out community and we can keep our dollars circulating in our community, then I think ultimately we will flourish in a different light to where it won't delete all of our problems, it won't omit all our problems, but we are at a better standing as a culture to where we won't feel so impoverished. You know what I mean?
I definitely know what you mean, but really creating Black millionaires and Black billionaires, like there's still going to be Black people at the bottom that need help, because we can see now like Black billionaires and Black millionaires don't do as much as they can.
Right.
And that, like, I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot more like sociology based stuff that kind of explains more about hoarding wealth and things like that. But we definitely have to consider that in tandem with everything else, and with, minimum wage and things like, we have to consider that on the grand scheme of things, that like making Black millionaires isn't going to pull Black people out of poverty. It's just going to make another Black millionaire.
Right. Understood. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, I will move on to the next question. This kind of goes back to our present time. In the midst of this racial climate, we are also powering through COVID-19, our unseen enemy. Both tragedies have shifted our communities into high gear when it comes to taking care of ourselves and exclusively each other. How can we continue this return to self-sufficiency and elevate to being less dependent on the powers that be? Anyone?
So I'm trying not to talk that much, but I guess, well, not talk that much, but just not talk over people. But if nobody's do it, I guess I will. So again, I think that escaping from the powers that be, to me, starts with education and food justice. We know from I'm about to mispronounce his name, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Said it right? Yes, I'm getting head nods. Okay, I said it right. So we know from that, some of our essentials include shelter, food, like relationships with people. I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically that. And so I feel like we need to start with that. we start with housing inequality, and we start with food justice, and we start with, of course, community. And so I am a landscape architecture student. With that being said, I'm more landscape than architect. And housing inequality is definitely important, but my form of social justice and freedom is, again, community gardening, because then you're not dependent on places like Walmart to give you subpar fruits, and you're not dependent on people like Whole Foods to take all of your money to get decent fruits.
Right.
So for Black people to feel, I don't know, I guess my way of feeling independent and in control and having some autonomy about what goes in my body is gardening. A lot of things are put in our food, and I don't care really how you feel about it, because it's a thing. They put good stuff in our food, they put bad stuff in our food. The point is they put stuff in our food. And a lot of people don't like that. And that's a way to control what goes in your body. And that's a way to control your health. And that's a way to provide for your family. But it takes a lot of time. And that also needs to be considered with lower income communities and things like that, because a lot of the time you don't have the time. You're working a whole bunch of jobs. You have to take care of, different people, not only children, but your elders and things like that. But again, I feel like community gardening, where everybody can pitch in just a little bit, everybody can like split the work up, that might be more manageable. And the benefits that you get from not only just having a garden, but having green space near your living areas is just, it's immeasurable for Black people, considering heart problems, considering obesity, considering blood problems, all of that, all of your problems, asthma, it can all be tied to food and green space. And it can also be tied to shelter, because a lot of the homes in lower income communities and in Black communities, they aren't at standards that are ideal. They might have, asbestos or this or that. And so also helping people with housing is very important. But again, my realm is community gardening, and that's a way to control your health, and it's a way to get independent from places like Walmart, and it's a way to get good, cheap food from, your garden that you cultivated.
Your neighbors and your friends do trade, like you said. All right, anyone else?
Hi, my name is London. I was mostly here for observation, but I agree, I 100% agree with Danielle about everything she said. She makes a lot of good points. But I also want to include that it's important to understand economics, because for me, I got a public school education for high school, and the economics class they had us take was not very helpful long term. And I realized there's a lot that I did not understand about making money and how money works and things of that nature. And I think it's very important, especially in the Black community, to understand how to make your money work for you, even if you're not working. Because I've just inherited an investment account from my grandmother. And so now I have money working for me, and I didn't even know I could do that for a long time. So I think that's educating people about economics will also help contribute to the success within our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So one more question. Well, not one more question, but next question. Oh, did you have something to say, Zuri?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I completely agree with Danielle in London. Like community garden, like I'm thinking about the things that you're saying, and it really does make sense. Education, health, economics, all of that. Like that's just really, really smart. So I just want to say that.
All right. Okay, so how can we define justice and racial equality in 2020? And what does your perfect evolved Richmond look like?
Well, my perfect Richmond would be one thing that they're doing is taking down the racist symbols that's been up since their inception, like Robert E. Lee that's not down yet, but the other statues that's been taken down, that's gone. I'm cool with that, but I still want actual justice for the police brutality, because like that's a system that we've been trying to tell them that's what we want. I mean, yeah, we want the symbols taken down too, but it's like the real problem is the police. That's what's actually affecting us. And then also all these laws that's in place, like that's more targeted towards people of color and us Black people. Those are laws we want changed. So like the symbolism, I mean, that's cool that that's getting taken down, but we actually need actual change and actual action instead of something that's like, I won't say it's not doing anything, because of course the Confederacy that did something because it represents hate and oppression, and we're glad those are getting taken down. But we want actual action. So we want a reform of the system, or just take the whole system down, like Minnesota did, and with taking away their whole police department. But we probably know that's not going to happen in Richmond. But like, we just want actual action.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think that's a really important part in this kind of utopia idea of like defunding the police in Richmond. So that's a great point to bring up. Definitely in my vision, I try not to get unrealistic with myself because I get my hopes up a lot, but definitely in like an ideal Richmond is a place where we don't rely on police for things, rather we rely on community. And really that's just like a utopia anywhere. We don't rely on police, we rely on each other, we rely on people who are educated and trained without biases. We rely on, practices that don't compromise or interfere with someone's personhood. We trust in each other, and we, kind of mind our business to an extent. Like, we don't worry about what's happening in somebody's bedroom, or we don't worry about what's happening in somebody's doctor office, but we just rely on each other and appreciate each other for the human beings that we are. Yeah, I think an ideal Richmond would be a place that has, I'm like a broken record. It has green spaces everywhere, and has a huge Black farmers market that people participate in all the time.
Yes.
I would like to see street vendors, people who, are passionate about the things and really are allowed to pursue their topic of passion, where, political artwork isn't vandalized, and where the streets are nice, and where, bikes are, where bikes are present and safe from, getting run over and stuff like that. I think there are a lot of improvements to make with the sustainability of our city, with the walkability of our city, and with the heart of our city. But I would like to pretend that it's, going pretty well here. There are a lot of improvements though. There are a lot.
Anyone else have an
I'm
answer?
gonna just leave it at that.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would like to add on. True justice is really hard to find, especially for people of color, because we've been withheld from so much. There's so many dynamics that go into what we need to acquire true justice. And I see Richmond as like this cute little anomaly, because the outside looking in, people are like, oh, Richmond is so great for like, Black people, like y'all got it made in the shade. But in reality, we're battling so much. Justice for me in Richmond would look like me being able to walk in Carytown after 5 p.m. and not get strange looks from shop owners. It would look like Richmond middle schools and high schools where children of color wouldn't feel alienated and attacked by their fellow peers who aren't of color. There's so many things with Richmond that true justice would look like housing in Richmond not being ridiculously expensive and unaffordable for people of color specifically. It wouldn't be redlining, it wouldn't be transportation differences. There's so many things that Richmond needs for us to see true justice that I would hopefully like to see. I don't think it's going to happen in 2020, but I really do have hope that from here on out, like the first steps we're making has been this summer, especially with this pandemic. We're stuck in Richmond. We can't really go anywhere. So everyone's forced to keep their eyes on what's happening to us and what's happening to the children and what's happening to their grandparents. and really see the steps that need to be taken. Oh, another thing, voting sites. We need better voting sites for in Black neighborhoods in Richmond. There's so many different dynamics that go into what true justice looks like specifically for us, because Richmond, you know, it's cute and all, Virginia's for lovers. We have like great neighborhoods with lots of money, and then you look on the other side of Richmond and they're underfunded, underfed, and they're missing so many opportunities. And I think that's where we need to start to see true justice here.
And also the fact that they added a neighborhood and in the that's right next to the hood. So it's like, I feel like they built a whole new neighborhood, but they couldn't invest in the one that's already there. So to add to that, that's what really makes me mad, because like that's already here. So why you need to build more? I mean, I know because of money reasons, but it's like you have invested it back into somebody that's already there. And that's where that's my problem with gentrification.
Okay. All right. So next question is want to make sure we can continue because we got a little clock here. This year, we've lost many legendary Black leaders from the Civil Rights Movement, but the struggle has been taken up by our new generation. Which Black leaders do you look up to the most?
Well, during this process of growth that I've been going to, like hard love type of growth, from the pandemic and from all the protests and things like that, I have learned a lot about a lot of people. And I think that before I had this romanticization of all of these civil rights leaders, and I just thought they were like perfect, like freedom fighting, like amazing people. Well, I actually was missing the people part. So now I see all the civil rights leaders as people, and people aren't perfect and people make mistakes. And so now I've kind of de-glorified a lot of people and a lot of members of, you know, the Civil Rights Party and things like that, still acknowledging all of their like amazing work, but realizing that as people, there's not any precedent to kind of make these people deities.
Mm-hmm.
They're not without criticism and they're not above criticism. Mm-hmm. But I think recently I've really appreciated people who acknowledge that they are not perfect and they're not deities and that they're just people. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of course, local Richmonders and things like that, but also people like Ron Finley, the gardener from LA. I've taken a lot of lessons from him, just how he started his work by literally breaking the law, which was, of course, completely obsolete and not related to anything ethical at all. It was like, whatever law he broke was like, don't plant here or whatever. But I've kind of come to admire different small radical acts that develop into larger scale community revolution. And I think people like Ron Finley and people just all around Richmond that participate really heavily in radical movements like that, like gardening and like, you know, helping people out at the base level. There are a lot of people from A&T that do community work, and it's not huge or extravagant, but it's necessary, and that necessity is revolutionary in itself. So I've come to appreciate the humanity of civil rights leaders and of people, and acknowledging their greatness while also not thinking of them as deities or putting them above criticism.
Anyone else?
I love that the point that you made, Danielle, about how we sometimes glorify some civil rights leaders, especially with some Black Panthers, because like some of their own ideologies didn't really line up with the ideologies that the Black Panthers established. And also Martin Luther King wasn't perfect because a lot of people don't know that he had an affair with while he's with his wife. And Frederick Douglass, he also had a white wife later in life. So we have to understand that not everyone's perfect like how we think they are. But to go back to the point of who I look up to, people in here because it doesn't matter how big or how small you are. If you're making some sort of difference, that's all you need to do. I mean, because everyone has a different form of activism. Like like Danielle, your activism is through gardening. Brianna, hers is through political organization. And Zuri's, he established a whole club in school. That's another form of activism. My form of activism is either poetry or writing or doing a podcast where I just talk, because not everyone can be at a protest. Because I would love to be at the protest, but you don't know what's going to happen, especially with the way the police are. So that's the reason why I haven't really been there, because I don't know what might happen. So I just feel like any little act of activism, even if it's just posting awareness about what's going on, that's who I look up to.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would like to bounce off of what Danielle and Christopher said. A lot of what I think the romanticization of civil rights leaders came from, me personally, I think it came a lot from the white communities, especially when you learn about these civil rights leaders in schools. They're like, these people are great, like MLK and Malcolm X, and they did this, that, and the third, and they're powerful, and you guys won't be able to do that in your lifetimes. That's kind of how it was branded to us. Like, all of the work that needed to be done, they already did. So there's nothing for you to do. And that's what we were taught growing up. So we idolize these people thinking, hey, they did everything. You know, they always tell us, like, they paved the way. Like, that's it. Road stopped there. When it just necessarily isn't true. But when you look at our generation, there isn't any one person that's like the spearhead of the movement. And like Danielle saying, like, the beauty of that is it's all of us as a collective unit. We all come in, we help each other. Like, you do this, you organize this, we're going to get this together, we're going to march, get these people. It requires the entire community, and we've stepped back from relying on one person to be the face of revolution. So we're really focusing on coming together as an entire culture, as an entire race, instead of saying, hey, we have our talented 10th here, and they're going to be everything, and it's all just going to like trickle down to us. You know, it's just not realistic, and it's not something that we can attain true freedom from, which is why we're where we are now, because it clearly did not work. It worked. We did get some, we got some laws passed. We got a couple statues put up, but it's to hide from what they were doing behind the scenes. And this generation, we're nosy. We're looking behind the scenes. We're like, okay, well, you're passing this. Well, what else is in that paperwork saying, like, what are we going to lose when you do this? You know, and I think that our generation is just really focused on the entirety of everyone. So, like, if you look at the current Black Lives Matter movement, we're not just focused, like, yes, police brutality, we're focusing on all of that, but we're also like, okay, let's look at ICE and what they're doing. Let's look at these other countries and how they're losing justice, because we realize it's not just about the individual, it's about all of us. And none of us can move forward if not all of us move forward, if that makes sense.
Agreed. Anyone else?
Yes, so this is Latika. So I'm going to take a point of privilege at this moment, since we are at least halfway through, if not more. But given the comments of the answers to that question, I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask the panelists, and I think this is a good time to do so. Given your strong opinions, and at the beginning I mentioned that you're very passionate about what you do, but my question is, so as a teenager, how did you, each one of you, or anyone who wants to answer, become empowered to speak up and either advocate for yourself, advocate for another group? Maybe there was someone who was bullied. You had an example at home. how was it that you're now able to do what you do? That's one question.
Okay. So my story is I first learned about slavery in preschool. I remember this. The teacher was reading a book about how the black enslaved people were getting whoopings and stuff. And I just remember when my mom picked me up, I was like, Mom, did you know that was happening? You know how wrong that was? Blase, blase. And that was when I was like 4 years old. Now, a little bit of background. My mom, she's from Harlem. My grandfather was in the Nation of Islam. So like, it's generational, you know? So I'm also like a history person. Like I like to do a lot of history. And I guess the biggest thing for me is like, what's being done to us black people, to us black and brown people is just wrong. Like, I don't like bullies. I don't like people, you know, being harassed. So I just really just want to do what's right, do the right thing. Like Spike Lee, you know, like that's just what I want to do. I just want to do the right thing. But yeah.
So I got my activism somewhat from my mom. If you guys don't know, Latika's my mom. So hi, Mom. So I got some of it from my mom, and she could tell you that I've always wanted to stand up for the little guy or the people that doesn't have a voice or they can't say anything. And also I get some of my activism from my aunt, Dr. Lornette Lee. She was always teaching me something about history. And I've always been a history person. And I've almost always had an A+ in social studies because I just love history and I just love going back. And then when I really got into my activism, it was after Trayvon Martin happened. And that's when I really started to wake up about racism. And then I saw the movie Malcolm X by Spike Lee after he did Do the Right Thing, Missouri. So that's when I really started to get into my peak of activism because I just felt like that what was done to us was very wrong because like 400 years of oppression, that is a lot of oppression. So that's why I've always tried to strive for Black greatness, Black love, and our Black culture because we are great and we weren't really taught that until like we got old enough to actually teach that to ourselves. So I want to teach that to kids early. That way they don't feel like, oh, I wish I was white or I wish I was a different color. When they should be loving their color, they should be loving who they are because they are great. We make most of the pop culture. We make most of the trends. So yeah, so I've always kind of been an advocate because of my mother.
Well, for me, what radicalized me, I was probably in 9th grade. I don't know, do the math. But when Trayvon Martin died, was killed, was murdered, I remember vividly, a Pledge of Allegiance came on and I didn't stand up. And someone was like, why aren't you standing up? And I was like, I'm not standing up until they give me my rights in the Constitution, until they rewrite the Constitution. And I had absolutely no idea what I was talking about, but it was a point. And I have, so I grew up in the white suburbs, like only Black child. And my parents always had Kwanzaa. I was always surrounded by Black professionals. And I didn't think anything of it really until Trayvon Martin was murdered. So that's what radicalized me initially. But also the class that I sat down in, it was a history class. We were exploring Eurocentric history, as always. And it was like super boring and horrible, but it was a Black teacher and she was super fun and she was super nice. And that, thinking back on it, that contrast for me really did something deep down. And so for literally the rest of high school, every single essay, every single project, it was about someone Black, or it was about some Black something. It was some Negro anything, you know? Whether it was history, English, wherever I could, I chose something to do with Black people, or I tied it in. And eventually I became this like unapologetically Black person, like, and I did my extended essay, which is basically a thesis. I did my extended essay on the crime bill. And with that, it spent, oh my God, it was so long. But I started out with just the crime bill. And then this darn essay, it went from crime bill to, nonviolent drug offenses, to housing, to like the family structure, to everything. And I was like, and at the end of the year, I was like, oh my God, it touches everything. We can't do nothing without racism touching us. And even though before that I was like unapologetically, like I was all like into it, I didn't understand it until that essay happened and until I was really like, damn, it's all like every single part of being Black is touched by white supremacy. And so that's my journey into it. And now in college, I'm learning to, and so in high school, I did a lot of talks and social justice. I was that person. I was always like, we're oppressed. Like in every conversation, Black women oppressed. Like the whole thing, like birthing rights and health care, like the whole thing. But now in college, I'm learning to step back from it and focus on what to do to remedy it. Instead of focusing on the oppression, focus on the freedom and the revolution, because that is just, it's just healthier for my heart, my soul, my mind, my body, and then with that, I'm learning about the small revolutionary acts that people do and that Black people do to take back their power. Poetry, like Christopher, is very important. And I'm learning about how Black people have always like, just like our power. And so I'm learning about our small revolutionary acts that we've always done to contest this oppression that touches every single parts of our lives. So that's my journey into radicalism.
I would like to add, first off, Danielle, girl, we got to get you in Gibbs Hall over in the poli-sci department, because that is how most students in our department have come into who they are. I know me personally, I was raised in like really nice like suburban communities, being like the token Black girl. And my family was very set on like letting me be a kid and trying not to expose me to too much. So for like our generation, it was Trayvon Martin. For our parents' generation, it was Rodney King. I was oblivious to all of that. Like, I understood that it was happening, but I didn't realize how it applied to me because it didn't apply to my friends, my white friends. So it just kind of went straight over my head. So it was when I was a junior in high school, I learned what an HBCU was. I know, horrible, but I had no idea. And I came home and talked to my mom. I was like, Mom, you know what an HBCU is? My mom's like, yeah, Brianna, I went to one. Like, what are you talking about? And that's when my mind was like woke. Like all the cloud was gone. I realized everything that I had been oblivious to was my life. Like it just had never occurred to me. Like you're saying, nonviolent drug offenses. I have a very close family member who's my cousin. Has been locked up majority of my life for a nonviolent drug offense, having a little bit of marijuana. So, but people who have the same offenses, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a fine, not nearly as harsh. He's missed all of his kids growing up. He has not been able to see any of them. And it's so tragic. And there's so many things that I did not realize came with being Black, because I love my family. They wanted to protect me, but they didn't educate me. Like this is like the reality of being Black. And that's what made me like think that's how I need to raise my kids, of the realities, like the harshness, but also the beauty of being Black. I also didn't realize the beauty of being Black until I was also a junior. As soon as I found out what HBCU was, I booked me a little HBCU college tour. First stop, A&T. Changed my life forever. I always say visiting A&T made me who I am today, because I had no idea the scope of what being Black could be. Like the beauty of it. Yes, we go through so many hardships, but we turn those hardships into something fantastic. And we create beautiful art, poetry, we garden, we protest and march in the streets, but we serve a beautiful message. We go to church, and then we still educate our kids and our children and our family members. We eat these meals that's not good for us, but it's a part of who we are. And I was missing a lot of that culture. So I was unfortunately 16 when my mind was open up to all that, and I went to Monacan High School. And it wasn't necessarily a race war, but a lot of my friends, we were like, okay, we got to do something about police brutality and what's going on. So we chose to have a blackout day. Everyone wore black shirts, Black Lives Matter, didn't do anything violent. We just got together in the cafeteria and had discussions about how we felt and what's happening and what we can do being only like 16, 17 years old.
I remember that.
The white kids, remember, it made the white kids very uncomfortable. A lot of people got suspended that day for doing absolutely nothing but talking. They kicked a lot of people out of school that day for embracing who they were and talking about the issues that we faced. Meanwhile, there's kids like calling us like derogatory, like racial slurs and committing violence towards us, hitting other students. They were fine because of their skin tone. Nothing happened to them. So that was the final straw for me, like, hey, we got to do something about this, and it starts with me. How can I help my community from here on, even though I'm still like just in high school, just a junior? Like, that was like the wake-up call. Like, the alarm went off in my head. This is it.
So a follow-up question is, since you both, Danielle and you, Brianna, have attended that illustrious college in Greensboro, North Carolina. I too graduated from an HBCU, a historically Black college here in Virginia, Norfolk State University, which played an integral role in my life. As you mentioned, from being nurtured, it also helped me to build confidence and see that there are Black people, although we may have the same skin tone, we come from a lot of different places. We have a lot of different abilities and skills, and we have a lot of different talents. You like some, you may not like some, right? But we also had the opportunity to involve in a lot of activities that we would not have been in otherwise. So the confidence helped later on in our careers. Here's the question for you. So as a student at A&T, which is located in Greensboro, where the lunch counter, historic lunch counter sit-ins took place, how did that, being there on that campus in that city, influence what you do and who you are today?
Well, so I'll just do the whole thing. So I was introduced to A&T on a college tour. And at first, for some reason, I just I wasn't thinking about going to an HBCU for no particular reason, probably just internalized Blackness. I mean, anti-Blackness, internalized anti-Blackness. But I just wasn't really super excited about it. But then I stepped foot on campus, and my tour guide, I swear, this man knew everybody. And so he would just be talking to us like, here's this, here's that. And somebody would walk by and he would say, hi, this is my friend so-and-so, and they're doing this big, amazing thing. And it was like every single person that passed him had something really, really rad going on. And I was like, ooh, young Black professionals. And then I was just like, wow, this is young Black professional Mecca. There are all of these creatives here, all of these people are prospering in theater arts, people are prospering in biology, people are prospering in history. People there were just very, very, just seemed like young, motivated Black people. And that was amazing for me to see. But when I saw the Greensboro 4, I would like to call them A&T 4, when I saw their big bronze statue, I was like, wow, this is a school that breeds Black greatness. This school is like a different level. I didn't know schools could do that. I thought college was a place you went, you got a degree, and you go work for some white company. But being at A&T, I want to work. I my mind is so much bigger now. And there's, you know, I'm not going to say it's like without a whole bunch of problems, but A&T is really a place where I went to, and I'm still going, and I just learned so many things about Black professionals and Black people in professional fields, and the friends that I've made at A&T. Man, I tell you, when I'm gonna call them up in 20 years and say, hey, like, my kids want to come see your farm. Like, how are the cows doing? Or I'm going to say, hey, my computer's broken. Can you help me with this? You know, there are a lot of, it's just young Black greatness, and you can see it. It is my home. And I feel like everybody at A&T, not like every single person, but there are so many just brilliant, motivated students there, and staff that care about you. That's just amazing. And I really would never have found landscape architecture if not for A&T, because what happened is that I sat down with like a biology head, and I was just telling him about what I liked. And he said, well, you don't need to be here. You need to be somewhere where you can be creatively expressive while also following this passion of helping people that you have. And, you know, we're one of 3 HBCUs that has a landscape architecture program. I think we're the only undergraduate program in the state that has landscape architecture. And like, I don't know how else to say it. I found my passion at North Carolina A&T. I know a lot of other people found their passions at North Carolina A&T, and we have the ability to pursue it. And I just think that opportunity has really just changed me as a complete human being. And if I hadn't gone to A&T, I would honestly be at JMU with like 1,000 classes. And that was my second choice. I'm not gonna lie to you, that was my second choice. They're very different schools, but like demographic wise, but I would have been there, and I would have been studying something that I was like half passionate about. And I was like, I'll probably go into I'll probably be a history teacher or something like that, which is a cool thing to do, but it wouldn't have been my passion. So I'm just eternally grateful to A&T with all its problems, with all its mishaps. It's also teaching me a lot of problem solving skills. But, you know, it's really an unmatched experience. You know, you wear, you know, your little Aggie Pride, Aggie paraphernalia, you know, in an airport, boom, scholarship. You wear it traveling, boom, you have a mentor. You know, it's a lot of community there. And, you know, we know community is very important to me. So Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride really is worldwide. Like, no matter where you go, if you have on anything that's blue and gold, some are like, oh, hey, Aggie Pride. Like, yeah, Aggie Pride. But like Danielle said, I owe A&T everything, and I will never be able to repay them. They're going to send me a bill in like another month or 2, and I can try, but I will never be able to like truly repay them for everything they've done for me. When I first got to A&T, I was like, I'm going to be a journalism student and study communications. And I sat down with my advisor, and she told me, she's like, you know, you really like politics a lot. Maybe you should try political science. Like, just take a class. I was like, I'm not doing political science. That's not what I want to do. Took one class. Professor Derek Smith. Owe him everything. Changed my life. He taught us revolutionary politics. Mind you, revolutionary politics is not taught at A&T, but he took it beyond what the coursework was to understand that we knew fully how it applies to be Black in today's society and how politics applies to that. Like, what our color means when it means to government. And that really changed my outlook on everything. Even though I already had my little awakening in high school, it reopened my eyes again. So I really dove into my major, and A&T truly wants you to succeed. And you can tell that no matter what field you go into, everyone's like, okay, well, what are your next steps going to be? Like, okay, you need an internship? Well, we can hook you up. You know, we got 3 for you right here. Oh, well, you don't know what you want to do? I used to get an email every day about a career fair because they wanted A&T students to succeed so badly, not only because it makes them look good, because that's what keeps you happy about your school. Like, freshman year, they placed me in Barbie Hall, Yep, the little prison, Barbie Hall, is a dorm. It's 6 floors with no working elevators, and it's built like a courtyard prison structure almost. But the sense of community you get from living there, the happiest times of my life. You knew everyone who lived with you. You starved with everyone who lived with you because we were too lazy to walk to the caf. So we really had to focus on each other and help each other grow. And the best part about A&T, it's not like someone saying, oh, I'm gonna help you do this because I like want to see other people grow. It's second nature for them. They help you genuinely because that's who they are and they just want to help you. So I have nights like we would stay up, fellow students and I, we'd be in the library till 6 a.m. studying. Make food for everybody around you. Little stuff like that that made the sense of community so strong that you just loved being there. You loved going to class every day. You loved seeing your professors who actually cared about you. They're not just with you in the classroom. They're with you on campus. They're with you at games. Then your emails like, hey, I got an opportunity specifically for you, because they care so much to reach out to each individual student and make sure that they have everything they need, they're nurtured. And if you're having problems, you have so many people to talk to. We have so many people who truly care. We have students on boards of just faculty and higher up professionals to make sure that our voices get heard. We have so many like community service opportunities to make sure that everyone is in our communities. We're keeping everything in our communities. We go around the surrounding, which HBCUs are built in lower income neighborhoods. So we're in there giving back to them. That's where our school is. Like, we're helping them out. We help feed like elementary school students, certain stuff like that that made you just so happy to be at A&T. It really did change my life. I would not be me or have any of the opportunities. I've had so many amazing opportunities specifically because I went to A&T. Yes, I still had to work very, very hard. It wasn't just because I went to A&T, but because I went there and proved myself, now like God is putting my name in rooms I had never even imagined, because I made the right choice and listened all those years ago to go to that school. So I've had the opportunity to do so many amazing things and meet so many amazing people and speak on TV, news and stuff like that because of where I started and all the work I did while I was there. Because there's actually people there looking out for you. They're like, hey, I know the perfect student for this. I know a group of students for this. Like, everyone helps each other, not just because we're Black, but because it's a part of who they are. It's second nature for them. So yeah, love A&T, Aggie Pride.
And a point that I really want to address also is that like being on a Black campus, like anywhere, is super valuable because you know that people just see you as a person. They don't see you because stepping onto like a white campus, people are like, oh, that's a Black girl. Like, and not to say like I'm a Black girl, period. But like people will dislike you because you're Black, people are racist, whatever. But like when you're at an HBCU and you have like a problem with somebody or that you like really like somebody, it gives you a space to say like they actually like me because I'm a cool person, or they dislike me because I'm a crap person, but that it's not about your skin color. And it also gives you an important arena to discuss problems within the Black community and to witness problems within the Black community, and be self-critical, because that's like super, super important to acknowledge that like Black people, like all skin folk and kinfolk, and like you learn those lessons at A&T in a safe space where there's the same amount of not kinfolk and kinfolk, it's like people that you're really cool with, like people that you just love, and there's going to be some people that you just don't love, but you're able to and safe to explore those kind of dynamics without being like completely ridiculed or output because of it. And I think that's really, really important for Black people to explore their own Blackness and what Blackness means to them, and how to navigate Blackness within yourself and within your own community and within your families and things like that. And to kind of commune with people around that, because we have a lot of similar stories. And you can find any type of story at A&T, any type of background, and to meet people like that and be able to see people with the same background as you doing something completely different, and to say like, why are they doing this or why am I doing that? And again, be self-critical. It's really important. And at an HBCU, it's a safe space to do that, which I just really appreciate.
Thank you both for answering that question. And the reason why I wanted to ask you that question is so that people will know that everyone does not have to take the same path. We're not all on the same journey. But in the end, we do have some of the same goals, and there's someone who has come before you who can help you along the way. So if you see someone else, then you know that you can do it too. And so for people who may be watching, like, you know what? Okay, I live in the suburbs. I'm an only child. Or someone who says, you know what? I'm the first generation to go to college. How can I even do this on my own by myself without any help? It's been done before. There's someone who's done it before you. And if we are all in community, then there are resources. And I don't only mean like agency resources, but there are people resources, human people resources who folks can reach out to and connect with to see, hey, you know what? How did you do that? You know, how is it that you left the state of Virginia and you went to a totally new state where you didn't know anybody on the campus at all? You know, and how did you come to make the decision that you wanted to go to college in the first place? But I would guess, and probably both of your situations, that you had no choice. But as I told my son, one of my sons, is that this is your pedigree. This is how, when you do these things, you're in certain classes, this is what it's leading up to. So of course, your next step would be that you might attend a college. Although it's not for everyone, the environment that you have on the HBCU campus is protective and supportive, and I think both of you expressed that very well. So we have about 10 minutes left. So Navy, let's see where you want to take this. If you want to ask a few questions, if you want to open up to anyone else who may have a question, we can do that. So we have plenty of questions that we can ask you, but let's see if we have anyone who's listening in the audience or watching who may have a question or comment.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? No? Okay, well, I have one question. This is actually going to be the last question on the list. As a community, what's one thing that we need to thrive, and how can we start working on it right now after this discussion?
The one thing part is tripping me out. I don't know. Like I said before, white supremacy touches every single aspect of our lives. So there's, every single aspect of our lives to start working on and changing now, from creative expression to financial literacy to housing injustice to food injustice to healthcare and Black professionalism, to changing what Black professionalism is. And, there's the one thing, I don't know, but I think, I guess the one thing could be education, because in order to start working on something, you have to know what you're working on first. But then again, education relates to literally everything, because again, that applies to everything. Before you start, fixing TVs, you got to read a book about fixing TVs. Mm-hmm. Before you start gardening, you got to read a book about gardening or listen to someone who gardens. Before you start writing poetry, you should at least know where a pen is. Mm-hmm. So that's a hard question. But I guess like my arena, again, I find it easier to deal with white supremacy if there's one aspect that I could work really hard at and create influence in. So I think mine would be gardening. And how I'm doing that is I am currently on a task force for the national, the Association of Landscape Architects. And what we're doing is finding ways to create awareness for landscape architects and bring more Black landscape architects into the field, and develop the field into something that includes and loves Black people. So I'm working on a way to kind of allow Black students to work with communities and to work with cities to develop green spaces that are in low-income neighborhoods, in Black neighborhoods and stuff like that, and develop, because though there are like grass lots where like houses used to be and then they tear down the house. And so like looking at those kind of lots, seeing which ones the city owns, and then using landscape architecture principles along with community participation, community engagement, a lot of community engagement, there we can develop those lots into park spaces or greenhouses or meditation spaces, whatever the community asks for or wants. But just to kind of activate those green spaces into productive green spaces that could really help people manage things like their health, their mental health, their physical health, spirituality, via the meditation and stuff like that. It could really be anything, but that's what I'm working on, and that's what people can just start thinking about. Like when you go around Black communities, say like, that's a space that could help somebody. That's a space that people can work together on and build communities. So, and I guess ideas like that, and of course you can always start like your own garden and trade with people, or just like start your own garden and give to people. Packing boxes for food pantries, going out and volunteering, mentoring someone. If you're a Black professional out there, you can mentor somebody, because it's really hard to do anything in this life, especially as a Black woman, especially as a Black person, without a mentor. Because you just kind of need somebody to say, yeah, you're doing this, I'm validating you, or do it this way. We all need some help. So I think that my message to Black professionals would be to mentor somebody in whatever they're passionate about, take some time out of their day, but also consider your own mental health, because Black mental health and taking care of yourself is really also a revolutionary act. So I'm just gonna keep talking, because it's like, you can do anything and everything. Word to the shirt. Yeah.
So this is a broad question. I feel like there can't be just one thing, because like Danielle said, it's white supremacy affects everything. So, but I feel like, and I really feel like it's not just one thing, because there's education, there's economics, there's the livelihood, there's food. It's like everything. So I came with three of them, which is education, economics, because like you need the education to do all the stuff that you want to do, but you also need money to do all the stuff you want to do. So I guess those are the top. Also your mental health also, because like you need to have your mind right in order to do all the stuff that you want to do if you want to make a change, or just basically do all the stuff you want to do. So I always advocate for people to see a therapist or see somebody that's on a professional level, so they can have their mind right to do the stuff that they want to do. Because if your mind's not right, you can't really do anything. So and to also focus on yourself, and like the shirt says, protect black culture, health, love, art, and lives. Because if we don't do that, there won't be Black anything.
Anyone else? Mr. Jefferson?
All right, I had to unmute myself. All right, the white supremacy is this big, big, big thing that we need to figure out a way to fight. And I think the most effective way to fight white supremacy is to actually change our culture. And so when we start talking about changing our culture, I'm actually talking about an African philosophy called Ubuntu, which translated means I am because you are, but it means I cannot be fully human unless I recognize the humanity in you. And so what that's saying is my survival is dependent on your survival. And so everything that was outlined from food to education to all that stuff, if we get rid of the rugged individualism, and we get rid of the pull yourself up by the bootstraps, all the mythology that we're taught as Americans, and just focus on what can I help you do, Zuri? What can I help you with, Brianna, Latika, V? All on the basis of when y'all succeed, we succeed. When we succeed, the tide rises for all of us. But this is about y'all. I just had to say that. Peace out. I'm enjoying it. I'm going back on mute.
Thank you. That was an amazing answer. I appreciate that. Anyone else have anything to say for a wrap up? Zuri?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I was actually thinking something like that. Just keep us having conversations like this and talking about what's going on, getting to know each other's perspectives, getting to know different plans and agendas. I feel like this is like really, really, really helpful. So we keep doing this. Something good is gonna come soon.
I agree. These conversations are something that need to be had constantly. And as you know, if you guys know about energy, the more you talk, the more that vibration goes. We all raise higher. So we have to keep this conversation going so that it can manifest in physical form.
Speaking of conversations, I do have a podcast called Conversations with Christoph, if you guys want to listen to that. So Conversations with Christoph, since we're talking about conversations, that's all I had to say.
Well, see, that's how you're advocating for yourself, Chris. Ooh, that has paid off. So
when do you air? What are your times that you air, Christopher?
So far, I haven't figured out when I'm airing, but I do have it on Spotify and Apple Music and all the basic types of podcast stuff. So me and Brianna actually did an episode together, and we was talking about what we were talking about here, and then also entanglements. But that's a story. But that's neither here nor there. That's another topic. But so it's on Spotify and Anchor and Apple Music.
So
and it's spelled with a K.
One last thing that I want to actually answer your question. Like, one thing that you can do right now is be conscious of your rhetoric and change words in your vocabulary that are anti-Black. And when I say anti-Black, I mean, like, if you're saying something that's like anti-trans or anti-gay, if you're saying something that's fat-phobic or anything like that, you change your rhetoric. And in changing your rhetoric and not using coded language and things like that, you include all Black people and you include all Black lives. And you express Black love when you change your rhetoric and really, when you're really mindful about the words that come out of it, less of the message, but more of the specific words that you use, that can open up a lot in your soul and in your heart. But it can also open up a lot more dialogue and a lot more acceptance to relate to other Black people that might not have the experiences or the privilege that you do.
Right.
Agreed.
I think something you can do right now, to add on to what Danielle was saying, is stop supporting brands who are anti-Black, and stop putting money in their pockets, and instead investing that money either to be self-sustainable or into, not necessarily just has to be Black brands, but brands who support who you are as a person and recognize that you're a human being, and not brands who are supporting Trump or who are anti-LGBTQ+, or who are just anti-human altogether. Unless you're a cis white human, like, if they don't support you, don't support them. taking away your money is the biggest impact that we can do right now. And it's as simple as not buying Goya, so something like that. Just making small little conscious changes and pulling money out of their pockets is the biggest way to show America, like, we know what's going on and this is how we're fighting back against it. And I think it's the quickest and simplest and easiest way for us to really do like a mini protest in our everyday lives.
Because people forget that during the civil rights movement, when nobody took the bus, and that's how we was able to get on the bus, because we took our money and put it into us. So just like with the Washington team, they're no longer called that, not because of us protesting, but because their money was taken away. That's the reason why that they took the name away. And also, sometimes I feel like we need to stop having Black outrage, because like these companies know that our outrage is going to cause them trend to make them make more money. Because like when Gucci had that blackface thing, their stock and their money skyrocketed. Or like when H&M had that little black boy in a monkey suit or whatever, their stock skyrocketed and their money went up. So we also gotta figure out what we really need to be mad about and what we need to not be worried about.
And I think another thing with your money is donate to people that need it. Because I mean, I don't have that much money. I'm like a college student, I need groceries. But every month I take time and I take $60 and I find GoFundMe's for, I prioritize Black trans people because they just go through a lot. And I don't think anybody deserves to be forced to live in a body that they don't want to live in. And so I donate, $20 to people, to a couple different people every month for their transition funds and things like that. And I think that's a great way to use your money. Donate to somebody's housing fund. They're very easy to find. You could really just Google it. Or I could really email the link to somebody, and there are a whole bunch. But and I really, really think that more people should be donating to young Black people, young Black trans people, and helping them out, because there's a lot going on there. And a lot of people just out of sight, out of mind, but trust and believe me, like, you're making somebody's life better, like their whole entire life. So I feel like donations are definitely needed. Passing around the same $20, we got to be there for each other. And that's another part of the community, sharing your wealth, and don't wealth hoard, save money, but
those petitions,
sign petitions and donate, and, we show up for each other.
Thank you for all of your comments. We want to, I am so appreciative that you guys have been with us this afternoon. You've been very generous with your time and sharing your experiences and comments with us. If people want to continue this conversation, we may be able to do so later at another time. I also want to thank Navy, V, the writer, excellent moderator. Thank you. We appreciate it. We want to let people know how they can get in touch with each of the panelists, and all of them can be found on Instagram. Can we show that slide of their contact information? Zuri Washington has a conversations, weekly community conversations with Zuri. He's on Instagram.
Yes. So you just want me to play the video right now?
The one slide. The one slide with everybody's information on it. I'm going to say it verbally, but just show the one slide. Zuri can be found on Instagram at Zuri the Artist. Danielle Freeman Jefferson is on Instagram at DMFJArt. Christopher Lee is on Instagram at Christoph Lee, KHRISTOFF Lee. And Brianna Starks is on Instagram at Brianna Thanks. And I'm Latika Lee, host of the Lotus Literary Lounge that's on Facebook. but I am also on Instagram, and you can find me on Instagram at Ms. Tika Lee. That's MZTIKALEE. And Navy, you can take us home.
All right, well, that is it. I asked all the questions for today. I had a great time listening to all of you. Danielle and Brianna, y'all were taking me back to my HBCU days. So now it's on a VSU stomping ground. I'm a proud Trojan. And I'm just inspired. Like, you guys inspire me. I'm an artist, so I feel like I gotta go do something now just by having a conversation with you guys. And also, I wanted to let you guys know, RVA's Black Farmers Market, August 15th, 9 to 3 p.m. at 1700 Blair Street. It's at the Way of the Lord Fellowship Church. I'm here in the West End of Richmond, so I don't know where everybody is, but if y'all can get here August 15th, if you can't, it is reoccurring. It's going to be every third Saturday of the month until November, until harvest season is over. So y'all come out and support fellow Black farmers, growers, other entrepreneurs who are going to be out there. So that's about it. I enjoyed you guys. Thank you, Latika, again for having me. That's all I gotta say.
Remember, everyone, wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.